their noses.
So today I'm out here with Julie from Dirt Patch Heaven. You're going to want to go over and check out her channel. She's got a ton of great information in regards to animals and livestock. Um, Animals and livestock is not my strong point, but I am going to work on that. And I've got her out here to kind of help me get a feel for what's best. It's a rainy, cloudy day, but the grass is growing. We've had a ton of moisture. It was a super wet winter. And I've got Julie out here to help me figure out what fence systems and what animals are going to do best in this environment with the pasture that we have. A couple of friends that came to visit, they must have heard that we were talking about them. Um, and they talked to us about hot wire fence, and as you've looked around, kind of what you think would work best here for animals on our property.
I know that for myself, I really like a paddock system so that instead of the animals taking down their favorite plants and only leaving the
Just
other stuff they don't like,
cherry picking,
yeah,
eating all the dessert first.
exactly. I like to have really small stuff to where they could eat it anywhere from 3 days to maybe a week at the most and then be able to move them. Electric
How
fences are
how
great for that.
how big of a paddock? I guess that depends on how many animals you've got in there.
Yeah.
What, as you've looked at our situation here and our pasture, what do you think is going to work best?
As far as size or as far as animals?
Well, let's do both.
I know that your winters are exceptionally harsh.
Yes.
For me personally, I wouldn't want to be fighting 6 foot drifts to get to a barn to take care of animals in the winter. I would rather raise something that you can raise in the summer months, raise them and butcher them before your harsh weather sets in. For me, that is sheep. It would be chickens. It would be rabbits. Um, just because their shelter can be smaller and it's pretty fast.
Yeah. Um, Rabbits is a great option. Rabbits is not something that I'm excited about. Uh, Go fish. Have you got anything else?
You could raise cows, but usually to have a really good sized beef cow, you're going to be 18 months in. They don't put on a huge amount of growth their first year. They really beef up, no pun intended, that second year.
But we definitely want them to beef up.
Yeah.
Okay, so cow might be out.
If you're not going to be around, I mean, most of the people in your area leave for the winter, correct?
Yes, I would say 80-90% of people are summer visitors. The population in the local town in the summertime, because it's a tourist town, swells up to close to 20,000, and in the wintertime we're back down to 320 people that are full-time residents.
And I would say there's a reason for that. And
It,
it's,
it might be, it could be the 6 foot of snow.
yeah. I mean, if you have an enormous barn and you have the machinery to be able to move the snow away from the barn and keep all the paths super, super clear so you can get back and forth and you don't mind hauling a lot of hay in.
That's
Um,
I don't. That's when I'm retired down the road, maybe. But I think you're absolutely right. I think we need to find something that is 6 months. Is that birds?
it can be birds, it can be sheep. You could do goats, but most people don't like the flavor of goat. If you're going to use an electric system, there is a trick to it. You have to teach the animals to respect the fence. It's something to where you put them on a line, you bring them up to the fence, you let them touch the fence. Like a sheep has insulation on it.
Mm-hmm.
She'll sit there against the fence and it won't bop her at all if it's her wool touching. She has to touch it with her nose.
Oh.
And so if she can't see it, if it was a two-strand system like this, most likely the first time it hit her, she would go through the fence.
Oh.
And she would just keep running, and she wouldn't know what hit her. She'd think it was you. And so what current day people do with their electric fence systems for smaller, middle to small size animals is they'll do the netting electric fence
Yeah.
because it's a visual indication of where the fence is. It also keeps predators out because a dog or a coyote can get under this line. It knows to run through it. Whereas if you have the netting, that the coyote can see the netting, it's much more likely to get shocked, and it would have to jump over the fence. It can't really dig under the fence in order to get to the animals.
So a 2-strand, like the neighbors have for the horses, is just simply not going to work for us.
That with horses it works. They're smart enough. If they've been hit by it once, they'll respect it. With cows, a cow can be really, really hard on an electric fence if you don't also have a double fence that is a visual and physical barrier as well. They can be very aggressive and just persistent about testing that fence, especially the young cows.
You can kind of see on our side of the fence, the grass is really, really long. But just on the other side, where the horses have been, they've been mowing it right down to the dirt, so they must like this grass in this particular area.
You'd need 2 or 3 cows.
Really, well, you can see that the horses have been out they've been out a couple of weeks, and I don't think they'll ever catch up with it. All summer long. I mean, they have 2 horses. They've got 5.5, almost 6 acres. They're never going to catch up with it.
Yeah.
But I wonder, I mean, would a goat help no.
Not unless you wanted to bring in a whole herd. But, I mean, if you're going to mow one section, you might as well mow the whole thing.
Yeah.
If, otherwise.
So I have seen those guys advertise the goat mowers that do freeways in different areas. I wonder if that's an option, or because instead of just cutting it, because I could go get a mower and put it on a machine, and we could mow the grass. But I don't want to have a golf course. I would rather it go to feeding an animal or something. Unless just mulching it, just mowing it and leaving it.
That's what I would do. Because you do still have some bare spots in here where you had some of the snow wear things away. You've got enough bare soil here that it won't hurt it just to let it lay.
Yeah. So maybe that's a good coming in and mowing, at least when we get to July and August, and all of this grass has grown up and we're 2 foot tall, and now it dries out in August, and then I have all this fire danger.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Honestly, what I like to do is come out when I start to see seed heads.
Yeah.
That before the seed heads release, that's when I come out and cut.
Oh. How far along is that?
That's pretty far along. I would mow before I saw those, and then I would let it go, and then you'll have an occasional rain, and it doesn't sit on the top for very long.
Yeah.
As long as you cut it at the right point, it doesn't sit on the top very long. It doesn't look like you've done anything to it. It just goes down onto the ground, and it just does what it does. But I mean, if you wanted to turn it into meat, get yourself a couple cows, put up some electrical lines, teach them when they're young, and just know that.
So if cows are kind of the long-term goal, because I think doing a beef, being able to put up, if I could split it between 50 chickens or 40 chickens and a beef every winter, if we could put that in the freezer for winter, then we could really, that would be a good thing for a family.
Yeah.
It would be a great thing for the land.
What I would do, this is what I would do. If you're going to get cows, get 3 cows.
Yeah.
And
at what age?
Well, you can go down to any dairy and buy a 3-day-old calf for $50.
Yeah.
Put them on milk, and
could we put them on a leash so I don't have to buy a whole bunch of fence?
You could actually, yeah. You could put stakes out for a cow. I've done it before.
Yeah.
And it's not a big deal, but at that point you have to bring water to them.
Okay.
So it's a good chore for kids to do, to bring water to the calf. But then what you do is you raise 3 calves and you sell 2 of them at the end, and so you make money having raised these calves that somebody else puts into their freezer.
But how long are we keeping them?
Keep them until it's inconvenient, and
So
sell the other 2.
into November.
Yeah, whenever it feels good. And then at that point, if you want to have a little corral next to your house and a stack of hay, that's something that you have a little lean-to, you have the little corral, you have the stack of hay, you
which
feed
is
the one calf.
very doable. I
Yeah.
mean, I could do it out of the lodge poles. We could put that
Yeah.
together very inexpensively.
Yeah.
So, but I'm picking those up now, or am I picking them up earlier in the season? Because I don't want it to be a one season. I want to find something that's going to work, and that we get set up. Because once we spent the initial investment of fence or lean-to and shelter and put the systems in place, the longer we can keep those systems working for us, the more they're going to produce.
Then that's what I would do. Keep the other calves. You could start baby calves at this point.
Yeah.
You could totally do it. You're going to be paying money for milk replacer, or you have a milk goat, which is the way I do it.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to have a milk goat, then you get milk replacer. It's $80 a bag, and you have one milk replacer for 3 months, which is why a lot of people do goats.
Yeah. Holy yeah. So, I guess I need to go through the options and look at all the costs, and then look at return. And maybe right now, as busy as we are, we may not have time to do animals.
Well, if you were to fence it in, and instead of having them in a paddock system, you just fence the whole thing off, and you had an automatic water system.
Maybe I split it and give the animals 4 acres, and fence it with T-posts and field fence. That may change the options.
Well, yes, and make sure that each one of those run this way instead of this way, because then you can have one central water station.
Yes.
And you can have a little corridor where they can get to water, but then they can come back to their pasture. Same corridor goes to each corridor goes to the same water station, but they're shut off from the other paddocks, so you don't have to haul water. They can get up closer, have your shelter and your haystack close to the house. Don't have it back here. And then it would be an easy system. So, and if you couldn't do it with just 2 lines, you might need to do it with 3 lines at first.
Well, but I was actually thinking of T-posts and field fence, but the problem is that's not a reality. The snow and the winter will tear all of that apart.
So the cows couldn't be out here in the winter anyway because the snow would be too deep.
Yeah, so I think we're stuck with a wire field fence.
Yeah. And I mean, if you stick a cow out here on one of their stakes, or closer to the house, stick them at the house on a stake, and have the electrical line running just close enough that they can reach out and touch it with their nose. Mm-hmm. It will teach them not to touch that fence. And a lot of people will tie a pink ribbon to their electrical line so that it flutters, so that the animal can see it while they're getting used to it. And that way, you teach them to respect the fence. And if you teach it to them young, they'll remember, and then they won't be going through to the neighbors.
Well, I'm glad I've got you out here to look it over. It's something that I want to move forward with as we get more time. This season, as busy as we are with house and well and septic and everything else, it may not, and we're kind of late in the season.
Right.
But if we did some planning now, we could be set up for it. For next year and be ready to go. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming out and spending some time and standing out here in the rain with me and let me pick your brain. So it's been great. A lot of information. It's got put a lot of thoughts in my head, and we'll kind of have to sit down and do the math. And some of the other factors is the kids and what they're interested in. They may just say, hey, let's do a little chicken coop and start with chickens. And if the kids do well with the chickens, they're staying on top of it and keeping it clean, and then maybe we'll look at larger animals and going from there.